All right, board members, it is 6 o'clock, so it's time for us to begin our regular June board meeting. This time I'd like to call the Granville County Board of Education into order. We have 6 members present with Dr. Houlihan being absent. At this time, Dr. McKnight, will you offer our invocation?
I will. Let's bow our heads. Lord, we come before you asking for your guidance and seeking your wise counsel on the decisions that we have to make for the families of Granville County. Lord, we ask that you extend your grace and protection to all our students and staff as they start their summer vacation. We ask that these things be done in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Ms. LeBrecq, will you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for being here this evening, board members, members of the public, and those that are gathered tonight. At this time, Madam Superintendent, do we have any changes to our agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 adjustments at this time. We will need to remove item number 9.03. This is in reference to the insurance information. The insurance carrier was not able to get what we needed to us by today, so we will bring that back to you at a later date. We've also added athletic information regarding a celebration for South Granville High School's track team. So we will add that to the agenda and remove the insurance information from the agenda.
Will the track team be during recognitions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, board members, do you have any adjustments for the agenda? All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote on the agenda as it stands, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, this agenda constitutes our meeting tonight. So at this time, we'll have our special recognition. Madam Superintendent?
We're excited to turn this portion over to Dr. Winborn. We're going to begin with our WRAL Extra Effort Award.
Thank you, Dr. McLean, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So tonight it is my pleasure to start us off with our recognitions with the WRAL Tom Suter's Extra Effort Award. This is quite an honor. We've had this maybe a few times before, but it's very rare. It's a very special recognition.
Yes.
And it's for a very special young man. And I have invited his coach to come forward with Logan. If you would please come to the podium. Mike, Carroll, and Logan. If you would come to the podium. And Coach Carroll is going to share some thoughts about this young student athlete.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman Richardson, board members, Dr. McLean, support staff, and team. Stan, indeed, it is a rare occurrence, but I stand proudly in front of you to say this is my second time. I had a recipient back in 2013, and I'm honored to do it again this year in 2022. I'm honored to stand before you tonight to present to you an extraordinary young man. He is a 4-year member of the football team, a 4-year member of the baseball team. He has received many accolades when it comes to academics and athletics. He is a multi-time all-conference recipient, honorable mention all-conference recipient, an 8-time academic all-conference recipient, and just an extraordinary guy. But as you heard Stan say, we're not here to recognize those achievements tonight. We're here to recognize his effort, extra effort. Many of us sitting in this room, those of you in front of me and behind me, in our time, we often referred to Webster when we needed a better understanding or meaning of a word. In today's world, you can simply Google it. And for extra effort, all you have to do is Google Logan Bowen, and his face will literally pop up, as you see before you. His grandmother battled cancer. I'm not sure if many of you have watched this story, but I'll try to keep it brief. His grandmother battled cancer and she won. And Logan, witnessing this journey and seeing her efforts throughout this battle, just kind of encouraged him to be a better person. Her making him smile makes him want to make people smile. And he did that daily, on the football field, in the classroom, with his friends, on the baseball field, everywhere he goes. I'm a better person for knowing Logan Bowen. And that's why I'm honored tonight to present to him in front of the school board, Extra Effort, Tom Suter Extra Effort Award. Thank you, Logan. Steve, your turn. Put him on the spot.
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. And it was a great pleasure to get that award, and I'm just thankful for it.
Very nice.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you. Gentlemen, if you could please come back to the podium real quick. Ms. Williams, could I call you up to the podium to present this?
Yes, sir.
And if you guys will kind of come stand to the side.
This is a bullet point, right? Okay, it's a good bullet point. There you go, like that. Talking about your grandmama and hat. I knew that. Still not. Nice lady.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Very nice. Up next, we're delighted as a school district to have attained once again district accreditation. Dr. Winborn, will you talk about our Cognia recognition?
Yes, thank you, Dr. McLean. Members of the public, those watching the live stream, as you may or may not know, school districts across North Carolina and the United States undergo periodic accreditation reviews, and these are usually done on a 5-year cycle. These are done by an independent third-party organization. In this case, most of the East Coast and central United States uses Cognia. They recently came and conducted their 5-year cycle accreditation visit to Granville County Public Schools, and we are pleased to report that we have been accredited and we have been deemed satisfactory in all 31 standards. All 31 standards. Furthermore, we received an overall score of just shy of 300, which is well above their worldwide average of 278 to 283. So this is a very important accomplishment for our district. Not only does it validate the diplomas that are awarded to our students, but it also demonstrates to everyone that there's a high level of confidence that this is an outstanding organization and that we are academically sound. So I'd like to thank everyone who participated in this. It was a lot of difficult work and preparation, and it was a true team effort. So on behalf of everyone in my department, I certainly want to say thank you. So Dr. McLean and Mr. Richardson, I don't know if you want to share anything. I know board members also participated in this process as well.
Absolutely. Board members, parents, business leaders, students, educators, several individuals helped us attain this status. Thank you so very much. And we are accredited for the next 5 years.
Again, just echoing what the superintendent said, this is an all-hands-on-deck type of deal. People from all over the community and the school district as well, making sure that we were able to attain this, make sure that we bring value, education to our community, and just we greatly appreciate everyone that did that not only during this time, but it takes a lot to get to this point. It's not just one snapshot in time, it's over the course of that 5 years. And so we thank Dr. McLean, Dr. Winborn, their teams, all of those that helped us attain that. So thank you so very much.
And I'd be remiss, Chairman Richardson, if we did not thank Dr. Winborn for leading that process. He and his team did a fantastic job. Thank you. All right, up next, we are going to showcase some aspiring leaders. This is our Granville Aspiring Leader Academy, and I turn it over to Dr. Winborn. I believe we have some guests with us this evening from North Carolina Central University.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. Under Dr. McLean's leadership as superintendent, she began a program known as GALA, Granville's Aspiring Leader Academy. This was an effort to build leadership in our ranks, starting with our assistant principals so that they could develop the skills necessary to go on to be school leaders. Ms. Shelby Hunt assisted with this program following the departure of Dr. Pauletta Thompson. And this year, we had 6 candidates who completed the program. And I believe some of those are here in attendance. So if I call your name, will you please come to the podium? Kristen Wilson, Assistant Principal at Tar River Elementary School. Shayna Harris. Yep, come on up, come on up. Ms. Shayna Harris, Assistant Principal at Butner STEM Elementary School. Ashley Lloyd, who is now Principal at Mount Energy Elementary School, formerly the Assistant Principal at Granville Central High School. Misha Williams, a teacher at Northern Granville Middle School. Sharia Grubbs, Assistant Principal of Northern Granville Middle School. And Ms. Kimberly Bailey Barnett, a teacher at Northern Granville Middle School. All right. So do we have in attendance with us Dr. Rice? Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We haven't had the pleasure of meeting in person. So Dr. Rice led this work and really helped cultivate the skills of the staff and became a real powerful mentor, I've heard. So thank you, Dr. Rice, for all you have done to help our professionals.
Thank you. And I just want to say just a few words. First of all, to your board, thank you so much, Dr. McLean. It was absolutely a pleasure. It did not feel like work. This group did an awesome job. They were in it. They were hungry. They were ready to go. So it was an exciting time. And again, it didn't feel like work for me. And we actually learned from each other. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Rice.
And if I could get a picture.
We've got some goodies here for them as well.
Looks like she gets all of the balloons tonight.
We got a little celebration upstairs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. And finally this evening, we're excited about our South Granville High School girls track team. Dr. Whitborn.
Yes, we certainly are. This is some state-level excellence here, and this is late-breaking news that we received from last week. Congratulations to members of the 2022 girls track team, at the state-level competition. Before I read the names, I'd like to just show everybody some incredible photographs that were shared with me by the coach. So I don't know everyone's name by photo, by image, but you can get a feel of some of the competition and the power and athleticism of some of these students. I don't know if the coach is here. Maybe he wants to help, or Miss Jordan, if you know these young ladies, if you
Yes,
can help
they're
share
here.
their names.
They
You
are.
would come up to the podium, please.
Here they are.
Apologize for the very casual attire. But this is Miss Tania Brandon. She's actually a member of our 4x2 meter relay team and the 4x100 meter relay team, and she's a 100 meter dash.
And if any of those girls are present as you're calling their name, maybe they could come up to the podium and stand with you.
Okay. I don't see them here right now.
All right.
This right here is our 4x200 meter relay team, which came in second place in the state. Starting from the top standing, that's Miss Serenity Jordan, and she is here. Miss Serenity, you can come. Miss Alea Flowers. Sitting is Miss Destiny Bland, and sitting is Tania Brandon.
That's right, and we're talking about on the number two.
On the number two.
The number 2 seat there.
This is actually Miss Jayla Jefferson. She placed 5th in the state. She's preparing for her triple jump, and she also qualified for the 4x200 meter relay team, and the triple jump is going to be attending the Adidas Nationals next week in Greensboro, North Carolina A&T. And again, that's a 4x200 meter relay team. And this is Miss Alea Flowers. She's a freshman this year. She's actually ranked the number 1 freshman in 2A for the whole state, number 3 overall for all 4 categories. This is her in the 200 meter, which she came in 4th place and placed 4th place. And this is the start of our 4x100 Miss Destiny Bland. She's the leadoff leg. And this is Miss Mia Betts. She actually placed in our 400-meter dash. She will also be attending the Adidas Nationals next week.
Yes, so that concludes the photographs that I received. Coach, we're so proud of the young ladies on your team.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us a little bit briefly about what is in store next for these athletes.
Well, again, we'll be attending the Adidas Nationals will be taking place at North Carolina A&T on June 17th, 18th, and 19th. So we're preparing for that. And we have a couple of athletes that are actually running AAU track, Serenity being one with the Durham Striders. And so they have a great summer coming up of competition.
Wonderful. Let's give all of these young student athletes a big round of applause.
Thank you, sir. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you all so very much.
Congratulations. So exciting.
Dr. McLean, that concludes special recognitions for this evening.
What a wonderful way to end the school year. And they're still competing, so we wish them the very best of luck.
Very nice. We also recognize 5 outstanding seniors out in the front of the school prior to this for senior reflections, and so I encourage you to go back and watch that if you missed it. This time, we'll have our report from our superintendent. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you so very much. Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, board members, educators, students, guests, and friends of Granville County Public Schools. Who can believe it? June is here, and another school year has come and gone. I would like to begin this evening by offering a huge congratulations to our tonight's red carpet honorees, and a special thank you to our graduating seniors who graced us with their senior reflections, as Mr. Richardson just said, at 5:15 p.m. this evening. They were simply amazing. It's always refreshing to hear the reflections from the students themselves. We wish for each of them our very best wishes. Further, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of our Granville County Public Schools parents and guardians, educators, students, and stakeholders for another successful completion to a school year. School systems simply cannot do this work alone, and this community stepped up once again, and we did it together. Because of our partnerships and collaboration, the 2021-22 school year has concluded for pupils with the exception of officially bestowing the special graduation status upon our remarkable upon all of our students except for our 2022 graduates. And those ceremonies will take place this upcoming Friday evening and Saturday throughout the course of the day. Those ceremonies will be live streamed for our community's convenience. But allow me to be the very first to say, congratulations, seniors. I cannot wait to see you become graduates next weekend. From the many promotion ceremonies, awards day events, proms, and socials, Granville County Public Schools administrators and teachers are to be commended for a job well done on answering the call to try to keep things as safe and normal as possible, if there is such a thing, even in the midst of those safety concerns that confronted our nation yet again. All of us honor and recognize you for your dedication, hard work, and commitment. Mentioning such, I would like to also recognize our law enforcement partners who are to also be commended for a job well done in helping keep our school campuses as safe as possible at all times, but especially in the wake of the recent events. Tonight, I want to publicly thank you as well for your partnership and genuine care and concern for our school system. As we move and transition into summer, let us all remember the many programs we are offering and those that are still available for our students. You may visit our website for more information. Those programs are still open for all youngsters. Now at this time, Dr. Winborn, will you pull up a little bit of a slideshow so that we can take a look at some of the events that have taken place since the last time we met? We had our Evening of Excellence. We can click right on through, whereby we honored excellence and optimal levels for both students and adults throughout the course of our district. We had a fine time celebrating students, teachers, and support staff, classified and certified, at the Evening of Excellence. Last week, we were honored to have the sign unveiling for our Mary Potter Center for Education. We are delighted to have kept our word in keeping Mary Potter a viable part of the community and finally having the signage to go along with the name. J.F. Webb High School participated in and had students create an area on their campus for their seniors. And if you get an opportunity to go over and to take a look at their courtyard, they did a fantastic job. They unveiled their courtyard last week. And here we had Educators Appreciation Week and many prizes thanks to several in our community. Many businesses and industry partners made certain our teachers were well taken care of, and I would like to say thank you for helping us keep our teachers happy. We also had some of our principals attend some training by our NC POP, North Carolina Principals and Assistant Principal Association, and graduated from this year-long program. We're proud of continuous growing and learning from across the state. In addition, we've had several programs happen at every school in Granville County Public Schools. This is an example of one at Hawley. We had the National Junior Honor Society. And look at our little pre-K students out at Stovall Shaw, waving goodbye to everyone for the summer. West Oxford had a wonderful 5th grade promotion ceremony. They were really excited about getting to go for summer. And then Awards Day at Hawley Middle School. Lots of programs everywhere all across the county. Cradle had probably one of the most precious custom-made songs. We won't play it for you tonight, but they said goodbye and farewell to a song they custom-made, putting each and every teacher's name in the song. It was precious. And when I attended Wilton Elementary School's 5th grade promotion ceremony, they do a great job incorporating leadership in all they do. So just a glimpse into what's happened over the last couple of days and weeks here in Granville County Public Schools. In fact, this past weekend, I was also able to get by the Hope House. They had some festivals out there for the children to come by and pick up some literature for this summer, because this summer and at the early part of the school year, parents, you will have to complete free and reduced lunch applications for the first time in 3 years. So I'm asking you to go ahead and to get those free and reduced lunch applications as early as possible so that we may get them processed for you. Heretofore, we've been able to just serve everyone for free. Well, that has changed within the last couple of months, and for the first time in a very long time, everyone will need to complete an application. It is also where we get a portion of our federal funding, so even if you think you won't qualify, please complete an application. I was also able to get over to our Butner area to the Butner Chicken Pickin' Festival and got to see some of our families out there and had a fantastic time. And we've just had a great time here as we brought our school year to a close. I would like to thank at this time our maintenance department for the signage at our Mary Potter Center for Education. Those staff members did a phenomenal job with the signage you will find at the front of this building and out on the brick wall. Compliments of our maintenance department. They did a fantastic job. So yes, through various modes of operation this year, Granville County Public Schools stayed on the move as we brought this school year to a close. I appreciate absolutely every educator, parent, student, and guardian, all of our partners. You're all invaluable to us. Everyone, we thank you for a job well done. This concludes my report, Mr. Chairman, and I ask everyone to please have a safe summer. We look forward to seeing you next school year.
Are there questions for the superintendent? All right, seeing none, thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, sir.
We'll now move on to reports from the chair and the other board members. I want to begin this evening. You've already heard about the Mary Potter signage that was placed out and unveiled Thursday evening. It was exciting because one of the things we saw during that time was how we could take the past, the present, and the future of what education will mean for children in this community and how they are working together to make sure that that happens. And it was a good thing to be a part of that. You've already seen many of our year-end celebrations. Many of you attended some of those. And now it's time to move on to summer enrichment. And I want to thank all those that helped us get to the end of the school year successfully, but also those who will be helping our students and our community throughout the summertime as the book bus rolls, as we have summer bridge curriculum. Those opportunities will be very beneficial for our students. Earlier this afternoon, myself and Ms. Lebrecht attended our Commissioner Liaison meeting. This was a very different meeting than we're used to. Generally, it's just a handful of people in the room for those conversations. Earlier today, we had 15 officers with us, along with the commissioners. And what the purpose of this meeting was for was to debrief and discuss where we were with safety in regards to our campuses. So we heard from various agencies, the sheriff's office, our municipalities, several of those members as we talked about the safety of individual campuses, things that we're doing right, things that we need to work on. We can always improve on things. We talked about communication in the event of a threat, or whether it be a communication of an event, how we would handle that. And we saw some areas that we'll be working on over the summer. One of the key factors we talked about was relationship building, not only us with our law enforcement officers as the board and administration, but also those law enforcement officers with our students. Because when something tragic happens, those relationships are invaluable. One of the things that I'm requesting from our safety task force that came out of that meeting is that they meet, they review, adjust, and prepare a report for us prior to the opening of school to make sure that we are able to say that we are where we need to be as far as safety. We know that there will be items that we need to do long-range planning along with the commissioners, and so we would like to have that before the opening of school so that we can take that back to our commissioner liaisons. Hear me when I say us at Granville County Public Schools take serious safety. That the safety of our LEO, or of our students, of our educators, and our community can only be achieved when our law enforcement officers and our administration work together. Not only safety is on the forefront of our mind, but a very special rite of passage, and that's graduation. In just a few days, we will celebrate with hundreds of students as they walk across the stage at a Granville County Public School for the final time to receive their diploma. This afternoon, we heard from 5 of those wonderful students. I proclaimed 22 to be the year of the woman because all 5 schools sent us young ladies who have achieved and been through our school system and shared a great, well-rounded view of where we are. We heard of a lot of things that we do right in Granville County, and this is where we as board members should take those kind of things back to be the cheerleaders for our public school system. So again, I thank you for those opportunities, and again, know that we do have work going on during the summertime that we need to do to prepare for the opening of school. We're just 2 short months away from school opening. I know that's hard to believe since we're celebrating graduation, but it's a constant time for us to be ready. One other item I bring to you today is you would have seen some literature from the North Carolina School Board Action Center under my report. We get a yearly letter from them asking us to contribute to their efforts there, and that is through the North Carolina School Board Association. This is their lobbying arm. Currently, based on our ADM, our contribution for that is $3,000. And so at this time, this comes to the board as an action item of whether you would like to do this or not do this. I would like to give you the opportunity to ask questions of our attorney if you have questions for her related. Mr. Peace has knowledge of this group from his work with the School Board Association, and I'll answer what I can from the literature that I have. So at this point, we need to have a discussion on how you'd like to move forward with this board.
And I will note, and Mr. Peace and I spoke, because Mr. Peace is on the board of the School Board Association, and so recuses himself from discussions of their contract, but this is a separate organization with a separate board of directors. It's a 501c4 organization, which allows them to engage in lobbying. And so the purpose of it, as I understand it, is school systems contribute funds and then are able to access these lobbyists to lobby on behalf of local issues in the General Assembly.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, I might add that this particular board doesn't have any particular item before the General Assembly, but this action center do that for any school system within the state that needs an effort put forth by them to lobby for whatever the needs may be. Of course, that doesn't, well, a lot of things they need lobbying for, but they have a poor record of getting more money for us, which is what everybody have, really. I mean, you know, there are things that they can lobby for us, but if we say we are going to ask the Action Center to go over and get us more money, that's going to probably be a problem for them, as it is for everybody. I just thought I'd put that out there because, you know, that's what we stand in need of. And the other thing that I would like to say, I mean, I think this organization, I mean, they do a good job for, you know, when somebody needs them. And you might say, well, the $3,000 might not help us this year, but it might save us a whole lot of good stuff, because a lot of things come up at the General Assembly that this organization lobby against.
Okay. I did check with finance. This comes from the legal line item, so this is where this amount would come from.
Is this something that comes up every year that we have to vote on?
Yes, this comes to us every year. Other
And I guess
thoughts?
in previous years you have joined.
We have.
Yes, we have.
I mean, I don't see an issue with this. I think it's one of those things that you definitely want to be a part of because you never know when you're going to need or call upon their services. And,
Well, and the other question I have really quick is, we're currently using them to update all of our other policies. Is that, this is
No.
not the policy one?
No, what the School Board Association policy arm does that.
Separate.
This is the lobby, the Action Center arm.
That organization is sort of an arm, I guess, of the School Board Association, but they have their own board of directors and members.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. What would be the pleasure of the board if someone would like to make a motion?
motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Dr. McKnight to approve this contribution. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Ms. Williams. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, motion carries. We do move to reports from board members. First, we would like to, our committees have met since our last meeting. You will see those items there, and each of those committees will have items that will come to you later on in the meeting. So there are no reports for them now. Also, this past month, myself, Ms. Lebrecht, and Ms. Williams had the opportunity to be involved in the Innovative Project Superintendent Board Member Leadership Retreat in Charlotte. And so I'd like to give them an opportunity to speak to that. Ms. Lebrecht?
Well, I thought it was a very well done and wonderful conference. I think it's really interesting to see a lot of superintendents across the state coming together and kind of brainstorming and talking about, all the ways that they can better education for kids and how they can kind of think outside of the box. Overall, I just thought it was a really great event. I see the value for sure in the innovation project, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity of being able to attend.
Ms. Williams?
I would concur with Ms. LeBrecq. It was very enjoyable, it was informative, and I think everyone was engaged. Some of the things I took out of it were some of the things that were commonalities that school systems have with businesses, with one gentleman being with Apple, another with the engineering firm, and then one being a head coach of a basketball team. Standards, accountability, expectations, communication, how we treat employees. And one of the gentlemen was talking about the pandemic and how work-life balance has become even more important to employees. So they're seeing a lot of changes in their employee situation. So that was real interesting. And I have to admit, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Coach Kelvin Sampson, and I got a little fun with my son doing that because he's an NCAA fan, and they're right behind Carolina on the ESPN top 10. So anyway, he was very good, and he was a native of Pembroke, which was something I did not know.
Yeah.
But I look forward to us talking about some of those things that we learned about. Thank you.
Board members, one of the things that came out of this conference is some of the things that we learned and experienced will be brought back to you this summertime for us to engage as a board and being able to learn from those items. And even some of the relationships we built. One of the ladies from Apple, a couple other relationships we built we'll take advantage of over the summer and into next year. So that will be a good thing. Madam Superintendent, would you like to add anything to that?
I was really impressed at the correlations that could be found between business and education, and how that blend helped all of us think differently, yet very much so in line with the work we do every day on behalf of children and school systems. And I was pleased to get to do that work with the three of you. So thank you.
All right. Board members, any other reports from you?
I'd just like to say that I enjoyed the opportunity to serve on the Teacher of the Year committee. We went out and randomly, unannounced, visited, I think it was about 16 teachers, observed 20 minutes in the classroom, and then it was followed up by interviews with the entire committee. And they did great, obviously. But one of the things that struck me was it was so nice to see the things we talk about in here, like focusing, standards, assessments, engagement, collaboration. Seeing all of those things in operation in the classrooms was so nice, and it makes it come to life a little bit more. The other thing that was almost universal with all these teachers was, yes, we focus on academics, but almost to everyone, the relationships that they build with their teacher and working with them on their emotional health, their behaviors, and knowing that someone cares about them. And that was just a pervasive theme we heard. It was a very good experience. Thank you.
Thank you for serving on that. Board?
I also attended Granville Ed Foundation's meeting this morning, and just wanted to reiterate the Pig in a Raffle is going to be coming up on Monday, August 8th. If you guys want any tickets, I have some with me, so they are officially available. And just, wanted to express how wonderful it is always to go and partner with GEF and just hear all the exciting things that they're coming up with for us in the future. So, thank you.
Ms. LeBrecq, did they have a final figure for the art auction that the children did?
Go ahead.
I think it was $5,910.
great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I've just been my heart up today about my heart.
All right, any other reports, board members? All right, thank you so much. This time, we've reached the point of our meeting for public comment, and so Dr. Winborn?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 individuals who signed up for public comment this evening. The first gentleman is Carol Hart, and the topic is school safety. So when you're ready, Mr. Hart, and I will start the timer for 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have a minute remaining.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. Uvalde, Texas. What was your reaction when it hit the news? I cried like a baby because I have friends in Uvalde, Texas, and I have talked to them. They did not plan as well as they thought they had. Do you all know, as a school board, how many creditable threats were made in North Carolina from August the 1st until May the 31st? Do you have any idea?
Lots.
907. That's almost 90 a month. How many of those 900 were creditable that an attack was going to be made on one of our schools? 254. That's 25 a month. The time is now, and I appreciate the comments that have already been made about safety. But are we educating our teachers and our students? I'm an old man. Y'all can't tell it. I remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. We used to have something called duck and cover. Duck and cover. We were aware of the threats of a missile. Now, today I know that duck and cover did not keep us safe. But what it did do was put in the children's mind, me being one of them, that we had a plan, and we knew the plan, and we knew where to go if duck and cover came about. Do our students and our teachers and faculty know what our plan is? I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but I've talked to some teachers and I've talked to a number of students. They didn't have an idea what I'm talking about. Do we know who Karen Fairley is? I know you're not supposed to answer me, but you could shake your head if you knew her. You need to know her. Why? She is North Carolina School Safety Executive Director. I've spoken to her. She gave me a lot of insight on what we should have been doing or what we should have done or did do in preparing for something such as what happened in Uvalde, Texas. Has this school board submitted to Ms. Fairley our plan? Great. I saw a head shake and I won't identify who it was. Does the school board know about that plan? Do you? Why not? Does the teachers know about the plan? Why not? Are we educating our children on what to do? I say, as a responsible citizen of Granville County and someone who has a lot of passion in their heart for those children, as many of you said to me when I asked, why did you vote to keep the mask on the children? I did it for the safety of the children.
1 minute, sir.
1 minute, great. Number one, have one entry point to all of our schools. Number 2, make sure the children know what the plan is and we educate them, and the faculty. And number 3, make sure we have a presence at all times, not just coming and going, of an armed police person or a person who's been trained to do such. If we don't, these open doors and no firearms in this location invites evil into our schools. School board, get it done. Don't worry about the cost. And again, I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we actually have 2 individuals that have signed up together to speak. We have Dr. Linda Fredrickson and the Honorable Carolyn Burnett, and their topic is Academically and Intellectually Gifted Plan. So, ladies.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here. You're probably used to seeing us with the Granville Ed Foundation, so really thank you. We did have a meeting today, and we are working really hard we did increase funding for grants, so I will say that since that came up. Technology, $20,000, and then $10,000 for the creative teaching.
$30,000 more our teachers are going to get.
Yep.
Thank you.
So that was done today, but we're actually here this time. I'm here as what I guess you would say the parent of over 40 residents at the Masonic Home for Children. And actually, if you look at the rotation of coming in and out, that number is much higher than that. But I work with children pre-K through college. I get to go to pre-K graduations, 5th to 6th, 8th to 9th, high school, and college. And I love when I see the success. And I want to thank the school board for what you do to help make that happen. But Caroline and I here tonight, as members, we were invited to be members of the committee to work on the new plan for our gifted. And I just want to say, I see that's later on the agenda, and I have already received 4 texts about things I'm supposed to do after this meeting. So I want to say right up front, number 1, the day that you hired Rebecca Bishop, you've got it. You've got a great, great person. I have followed her career for over 20 years, and you are very blessed. Number 2, the experts she brought in, the meetings, and yes, when I saw the link to some of those meetings, woo! But once we got in them, they were engaging, they were active, they were not sit and get, they were discussions, and what do you think, and participation in small groups. And so I want to just tell you the people that worked on that gave a lot of time, and I hope that you will support her in that. It is a 3-year plan. And there are built in where there's some changes can be made. But what I love is that it is looking at the entire population of Granville County Schools, of increasing the numbers and recognizing the numbers. If you've ever received an email from me, the last line on my email says, everyone has a gift, and it is my responsibility to help find it. This plan is really tapping into diversity. It's tapping into recognizing that even in one area you may not be strong, you're another. So I encourage you to support this plan, help get us some more teachers that have some certifications in gifted, but just know there are tips in this plan and plans in place to help every teacher. So Caroline, I'll turn it over to you.
I think the greatest thing about the AIG plan that I found was a shift in mindset. A shift in mindset from children who scored 95% on a national test to children who have potential. To have potential within Granville County, to have potential within their school themselves. And I think that mindset, it was like a light bulb went off for me. I was so excited. I think I was driving to Atlanta or somewhere, and I was just jabbering away about it because I think that mindset for our children in Granville County, this is not going to affect my children. I've got a senior, woohoo, and we'll have a junior next year. But I really think seeing the kids that Linda works with, we work closely with, the kids that I see in the foster care system, the children that I see who come into my courtroom as juvenile kids have so many talents. and so much potential that maybe not necessarily on a nationwide test, that I really think we can do great things with the AIG program in Granville County. And I don't know where Becky Bishop came from. I'm assuming Franklin County, but we need to keep her. Please. She was engaging. Everything was on time. Everything was on point. Dr. Markle from Johns Hopkins was fantastic. So I'm really excited about the plan. I'm really excited about the AIG program in Granville County Schools. So thank you for letting us be a part of it. We appreciate it.
One thing I want to say she mentioned is important. This will help you with your schools, because sometimes schools get known as the smart school. This would help. Every school has smart kids. And if you are in that, you're looking at the kids that are excelling and doing well in areas at that school. So you don't have to be at a certain school to shine at where you are. So just thank you. And I have to leave, but if you want to text me and ask me a question before, or you can ask me one now, but if I'm on the road, I will be glad to answer. But thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, ladies. And the third and final individual that signed up for public comment this evening is Samantha Harris, and the topic is mask, support, and thank yous. So, Ms. Harris, when you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Good evening, everybody. Chairman Richardson, Superintendent, board members, thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Wilborn especially. Thank you all for allowing me to speak on tonight. The first thing I want to talk about is the masking, and I know it seems like we talk about it every time, but I did get the opportunity to see some of the numbers that's going to come up on your slides later on, and we have a plan in place, and it is doing well. Thank you all for following that plan. Our numbers look great. We are still in a pandemic, and we want to continue to treat it that way. I know sometimes we come in with our public comments and what we ought to do and what we should be doing, but if we're not there and we're not in the thick of it all, and we're not just concerned about what's going on with our child, and we're concerned with everybody, we'll appreciate the plans that you already have in place. The second thing, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that supported me during my campaign. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Preparing for catechism didn't even compare, okay? Knocking on doors, shaking hands with people. It was exhausting, but thank you. Thank you to Dr. McKnight. Thank you for helping me put up signs. I knocked on his door. I didn't even know I was knocking on his door because I didn't have names. I only had numbers of houses that I could go by. But thank you for helping me put up signs. Thank you for coming out to the polls with me. Thank you, Dr. Richardson, for allowing, Chairman Richardson, I'm sorry, for allowing my flyers to sit on your table for your people to help me that were campaigning for you. And thank you for choosing to come back to be a part of this team that you have. I know it can't be easy, okay, because again, I thought I was gonna have a heat stroke one day. I gotta go home. This is too much for me. But again, I thank you for all that you did. Every person who has spoken my name out of your mouth, I say thank you. My continued support, I did not change my mind. I'm still here, even though I did not win the race. Unfortunately, I did not win the race, but it did not change my mind about what you all have to do. It did not change my mind that I am still in your corner. So please don't hesitate to call me, to email me, to text me, to do whatever it is that you need for me to do, because contrary to what was reported, I do still have a child in Granville County Public School System, although my children are spread out. They're 33, 26, and 17, but they have all graduated. Well, 2 have graduated twice from college, and 1 is on her way, and I pray that she is going to do what they do. Education is a means for an end to a lot of us, and so I thank you all for what you do, and not just you, to all the other teachers and other administrators in your camp. In past meetings, you've had people who have come and belittled you and berated you. Stand strong. Don't be bullied. Don't be intimidated. Don't be coerced, or whatever it is they plan to do, because the face of education doesn't have a political affiliation attached to it. Everybody is responsible for doing what we have to do for all of the children, no matter what political party you may belong to. Stay open to the parents, stay open to the community, stay transparent, and say what it is that you mean to do and mean to do what you do. Don't make it be, we'll get back to you. That's how you lose the trust of the community. Get us in small groups. Get us in conversation. Get us involved with what it is that you're planning to do. We have a lot to do. I promise you we have a lot to do, because I do sometimes sit in on the county board members' meetings. And contrary to what we might believe, and we are a district, each seat represents a district, but you all represent Granville County. And at the end of the day, what happens on one end of the county, eventually it's going to happen on the other end of the county, whether that's good or bad or indifferent. It will be a trickle-down effect. Get together. Talk about what it is that's going to benefit everybody in the county and not just your district. I appreciate the representation that you brought to District 5, Dr. McKnight.
1 minute.
Unfortunately, I did not talk to you. And I'll just say, I'll be transparent. Sometimes it looks as if you all are not interested in what we have to say. Your faces say a lot. Your body language say a lot. And I did get to have the opportunity to say that to Dr. McKnight, and I wish we had had conversations prior to me running. But again, be open with us. Get with us, those who want to support you, and we'll find the help that you need to get done what you need to do. And again, thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Mr. Chairman, that concludes public comments. Would like for the board members to know that we did have the electronic submission form open today and did not receive any via that method.
Okay. Thank you so much, public, for your comments tonight. Board members, now we move on to our consent item agenda. On that consent item agenda, we have the sole source request for our vendor Qualtrics, our masking, policy 3460, there were some technical revisions to that, our child nutrition bids for 22-23, our restart school calendar adjustments. These come to you as a consent item. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Ms. LeBrecq. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed. All right, motion carries for the consent items. All right, we now reach 8.01. We have an overview of the class of 2022. Dr. McClain?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I'm excited to call Ms. Angie Salisbury, along with Dr. Stan Winborn, to the podium at this time. Every year, we're delighted to share this information with you about the graduating class. This year will be no exception. Ms. Salisbury, will you share the good news, please?
Good evening, Mr. Richardson, board members, Dr. McLean. I am so excited to share with you this evening data of our graduating class of 2022. We have 424 students. Obviously, our early college students have already graduated, and the remainder will be this weekend, Friday night and Saturday. 68% of them have been accepted into a 2-year or 4-year university or college, or have signed commitments to the military. And 15% of our students have confirmed employment. We are so excited that this year, for the first time, we will employ our college advisors over the summer to continue to work with our students. For those seniors and graduates who have not yet made a decision, I have a feeling that after graduation happens and they have maybe that week at the beach, then they're going to come home and realize, oh no, what am I going to do? And so we're going to have these resources available to those students over the summer. They're also going to be available to those students going to a 4-year, for when they get that email from their college and it says you need to complete this residency form and they don't know what that is. So we're excited to be able to have that continued support for our students. Our students are matriculating to community colleges from Central Piedmont Community College all the way to Cape Fear, very much including our very own Vance Granville Community College. 4-year public and private colleges and universities and technical schools, and 3 of our 6 branches of military service. And all of the UNC system schools, the only one not UNC Asheville. And I looked back, and this is the 3rd year in a row, and I'm not sure that anybody's even applying from Granville County to UNC Asheville. So I don't know if we'll have to look into that a little bit. But all of the UNC system schools except for that one. Our seniors, as you heard earlier this evening, have excelled in academics and athletics, you'll hear in just a minute, in their character and in career and technical education. And so we have here some highlights, special notes of interest from each of our schools, and I am just going to share one from each school. At Granville Academy, we have a student who received the National Bold Encouraging Others Scholarship. This scholarship is given to students to inspire them to support themselves and each other and encourage others to pursue their dreams. If you go to bold.org, you'll see our very own Granville Academy student listed there. Granville Early College students received 33 associate's degrees. Granville Central High School, they have been named to the 2022 NC First in Fafsa Innovation Award. We are very, very excited about that. J.F. Webb High School, you can see there, has many scholarships, but for the very first time, a traditional high school student in Granville County Public Schools completed his Associate of Science degree and will get his high school diploma this coming Saturday. We're very, very, very proud of that, and it just shows that other students can do that. And last, South Granville High School had several scholarships, but notably they have a full ride athletics scholarship at NC State University. Drum roll! Our students have received $7,783,030 in scholarships. This is 26% increase from last school year, and we have 10% fewer graduates. So that really, really is impressive number of scholarships. We're very proud of all of our students. Congratulations to the class of 2022. They truly had an unforgettable high school experience. These students came to high school their 9th grade. They just figured it out. They were so excited to go back to 10th grade. They had 1 semester, and then they were sent home. And then their whole junior year was in school, out of school, and then they finally had a senior year. So we are excited for these students. They are the epitome of perseverance, and we're very happy for them. Any questions?
You know how many graduates we have total?
424 total. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Salisbury.
Thank you. All right, board members, next is 8.02, our local wellness policy. I believe Ms. Curtis is coming, so Dr. McLean.
Thank you so very much. This is a policy, board members. We are bringing this to you just for information. It is mandated you receive this once a year.
Good
Ms.
evening,
Curtis.
everyone. It's good to see you as always. I'm here to talk to you about our Healthy Active Children Policy Annual Update. And you should expect this each June moving forward. So this is mandated by federal policy, and there are 10 components that I'm going to kind of quickly go through for you that are a part of the Healthy Active Children Policy. So the first part is that we have a local school health advisory council. We are looking for a board member to join this team. So if this is something that any of you are interested in joining, we would love to have you join the team. It's made up of myself, our incoming Director of Child Nutrition, once we hire them, some members from our district student services staff, some school-based staff, someone from Granville Advanced Public Health, and we work on it and monitor how we're doing with our local wellness policy. So if any of you are interested in that, I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire right now, but please just send me a note. We would love to have you join the team. Next slide. So the local wellness policy and our Healthy Active Children looks at the whole child model. So it's not just are we looking at students' academic progress, but also are we looking at their physical health, their mental well-being, and all of those things to make sure that we are producing a well-rounded graduate. So we do have a local wellness policy, and this is required by federal regulation. It outlines a lot of things that we do in our child nutrition department in terms of the nutrition guidelines, when we're able to sell food, what types of food we're able to sell. So we have to monitor all of that, and so it's really important partnership between student services and child nutrition. As a part of our local wellness policy, we do report to you once a year, and every 3 years, our schools complete a triennial health assessment. That was postponed for 2 years because of the pandemic, and we are going through that triennial health assessment right now, and I'll share some highlights for you as we get to the end of the presentation. Next slide. One of the components is physical education and healthful living. So we are required, every student in K-8 is required to have physical activity each day, either in health and PE, but also, as they're doing that, are they engaging in that high level of moderate to vigorous physical activity? So we're not just going to PE and, hanging out, but we're following a curriculum, we're looking at our standards, and we're really making sure that students are learning the things that are going to help them be healthy throughout their lives. Then we've got physical activity in recess. Again, in K-8, we require a minimum of 30 minutes each day of moderate to vigorous physical activity. That can be through recess, dance, energizers within the classroom, or other things they've got in their curriculums at their schools. It's important to remember that recess cannot be taken away from our students as a form of punishment. We also do not assign exercise as a form of punishment. As I already shared, the policies give us guidelines on what types of nutritional standards we have to meet with our food and beverage options, and we also have to offer some nutrition education. This is monitored. The Department of Agriculture monitors what's happening in our child nutrition department. And the Student Services Department, we annually prepare and submit a report to DPI, and that includes what we're doing with this side of the policy, which is our Healthy Active Children, but also what we do with our SEL and Mental Health Improvement Plan. That's due in September. So just some highlights from our assessment. This is ongoing. Some of our schools are still working on their assessment, and some of them have already completed it, but I did have enough schools that have already completed it that I wanted to give you some strengths that I saw in our data and some areas that we're going to focus on and continue to improve. So some strengths are our school nutrition programs. We have a variety of options and ways that students can get food. We've got some grab-and-go spots in some of our schools, so instead of going to the cafeteria, they can grab healthy things on their way to class. Our smart snack sales, we're required to make sure that snacks that we sell at school, even those not sold by the cafeteria, meet some standards, and we're doing a great job in that area. Our school schedules are allowing for those physical activity and recess requirements, and our physical education program was another strength. We follow a curriculum, we have licensed teachers, and we require it for all students in grades pre-K through 9. Areas for growth. Continue to educate our schools and community members about some guidelines we have around outside food and beverages and what can be considered competing with our school nutrition program and therefore is not allowed. Working with our parent university folks to talk with families about healthy family behaviors. and connect folks with community resources. There are so many in our community that are available to families. We want to make sure we're doing a great job of keeping folks informed. The need for increased mental health supports, we've talked about at length this year. We have made more than 100 referrals as a district to school-based mental health providers across the district this year, but we're continuing to look for new partners, particularly those that can serve families that speak Spanish, particularly those that specialize in areas like behavioral health, to really support those more intensive needs. Making sure that everyone is adhering to our physical activity requirements is something that we'll be doing. And then looking to focus a little bit more on staff physical wellness. That was an area that was highlighted as something that we need to work on as moving forward. So our next steps as we move into the summer and fall is we'll complete our principal and superintendent attestations regarding health and PE and recess requirements. Everyone has to sign off that they're following the rules that are laid out in federal policy. We'll again submit our report to DPI by September 15th. And I'm excited to share that all of our health and PE teachers are going to have a substance abuse curriculum to follow this upcoming school year. They've reviewed those materials, and we're going to give them some training. I think that's an important part moving forward to make sure that our students and parents are well equipped to deal with those issues so they can support their students when they have those difficult questions. So that's all. Any questions?
Ms. Williams?
I may have missed it. On vision and hearing screenings.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we haven't had a lot of time for anything like that with the pandemic. What is the status of that and who's doing it?
We are catching up on those. My nurses are actually compiling their end of year report right now, and they told me the number today, and I do not remember it, but it was in the 400 or 500. So we are catching up, and we'll continue to work to make
Okay.
progress in that area.
Great.
Mhm.
Any other questions, board members? All right, thank you, Ms. Curtis.
Thank you all.
All right, board members, next is 8.03, our learning management system transition. Dr. McLean?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. This was discussed in our academic committee meeting. The district is moving to this learning platform. Dr. Winborn, I'd like to give it to you at this time.
Yes, thank you, Dr. McLean. So as you said, our academic team, academic board committee, rather, has met twice to discuss this topic. The issue at hand is whether or not we should choose a new learning management system or stick with one that we already use. That's in essence the choice that we have. One of the ones that we have been using is going to cease to exist. It's called Power School Learning, not to be confused with Power School, which is where all of our grades and that type of thing are scored, are kept, and that parents access. But rather, this new choice of Canvas or a third party. And so we've gotten lots of input from our teachers. We've sent out several surveys, 2 different ones, I should say, and solicited a lot of feedback from them. Our board members on the committee came up with the consensus that we should choose Canvas. Since that is one that is already being used in our district, it would take us down from three different platforms to 2. Help simplify things, and the migration, it looks like, will be, I should say, affordable. It will be a one-time expense for saving some of the content that our teachers have created over time. But it will be migrated, and support will be available to help build these new courses out as we enter the fall. So again, there's some benefits listed here in bullet form for you to refer to, but I would maybe open it up to the members of the academic team if they wanted to provide any context or comments about this.
I would say we were definitely in favor of going the Canvas route. It seems to make the most sense. A lot of educators coming out of colleges are familiar with Canvas already, so it kind of reduces the whole learning curve. And since a lot of our employees are already familiar with Canvas as well, it just made more sense to kind of stick with that and go that route. So I think this is actually a very good move.
Dr. Winborn, what's the thought process behind still giving the second option?
So the second option really is Google Classroom. We are a Google certified district, and because of all of the tools that we use, I'm sure the technology department could provide plenty of details about that, but from our email to our calendar to our sign-in systems, the suite of Google products, Google Classroom's already available. And especially in the lower grade levels, that's commonly used as a light version of a learning management system. Not as much in secondary grades. Gotcha. Canvas is much more sophisticated and powerful. Plus, it fully integrates with our grade book. Google Classroom does not.
Gotcha. Thank you. Other questions, board members? All right, and this comes to us just as information tonight. All right, so next item, board members, is 8.04, 2022-23 meal price increase. Dr. McLean?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Ms. Vicki Hines and Ms. Patricia Crute to join us at the podium, please. Everyone can most certainly see the empty food on the shelves, and if not the empty food on the shelves, they see the prices that have risen. This has impacted our district as well. So ladies, will you take it away, please?
As you are aware, supply chain issues are an issue. Prices have gone up, food prices have gone up, transportation prices have gone up, and we have the upcoming increase in minimum wage for our classified staff, which it has led to come to a head that we need to increase our meal prices for child nutrition, recognizing that considering our families, our community at the same time, the team really looked at what could we do? How can we cover the costs yet meet the needs of our community at the same time? So if you go to the next slide, you can see that the district is really only looking at a 10-cent increase across the board for reduced and full price lunches.
Full price.
Meals. Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Most districts are going up more, but I think with the financial shape we are in at this time, I think, 10 cents is generously gonna not overwhelm the parents. Some parents have 5 kids in school, and if you go up 25 cents, 50 cents, or $1, that's a big impact. But we do need it to sustain us financially as far as all the increase in prices. It's unreal. The difference in food prices this year versus last year or the year before.
Are there any questions?
I have a question. It's not necessarily related to price, but how much have you heard any rumblings as far as continued supply chain issues that child nutrition will face?
Well, we had a DPI meeting last week, and that is a big concern. A big concern of where we'll be, where our suppliers will be able to get. And we only had one company to bid.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Just a quick way. Well, one thing I want to say is I'm surprised we only went up 10 cents the way things are nowadays. So that's a good thing. Do you know just offhand, like what percentage of our student population actually pay full price for lunch?
It's about 45%. It's about 40% that pays full price.
Okay.
And because we're about 52, 53% free. If we got up to above 70%, we could be CEP, but we're not there.
Okay.
Got a long ways to go. But reimbursement is going to be so much lower next year that we receive from from federal government as to what we've received the last few years with the pandemic. Because everybody's been free, so we receive free reimbursement for everybody. And that's not gonna be the case. And of course, we don't know what reimbursement rates will be next year yet.
Board members, I get emails that I think Ms. Crute get as well from our work with No Child Hungry. Now is the time for us to be writing letters to our legislators because of these things that are being pulled away from them as far as free and reduced lunches, because it's going to come back and affect the local level more than anybody.
And with the, like Vicki was talking about, with the pay increase, that's gonna be a big one too. And we're getting hit from all sides.
Board members, any other questions?
Yeah, when you talk about writing letters, you're talking about at the federal
Federal
level.
and General Assembly, because they're getting it from both sides of it.
Thank you.
So, all right, thank you, ladies. Board members, this next item, 8.05, is our spring 2022 policy updates. This comes to you as an action item. Per our policy, this is a first read. You have two options. You can let this stand as a first read, and this will be brought to you back at our next board meeting to approve these or to move on them. Or you can waive your first read if you have been prepared. If you can waive second read if you've been prepared and ready to vote on these. So what would be the pleasure of the board, or do you have questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Policy, is it? Let me get my glasses here. Print it small. I believe it's the one that's new, 4334. 5035.
Unmanned aircraft?
Yeah. One of the questions I had about it was talking about filming being done by a drone. Okay, and being shared with third party. Now, is that third party, can you kind of tell me what third party means in this context? Somebody has a drone going over and they put it on social media.
Madam Attorney, do you have a read on that?
Yes, let me just open that up so I'm looking at the same policy. But I believe that would be distributed to someone other than the school system, someone outside the school system. So what this is saying is it would not permit someone to, for instance, use their personal drone to film a concert or a game, a school concert or game, and then post it online without permission.
Okay.
All right. Good question. Any other questions, board members?
I guess my question regarding the same thing is, how do you enact this policy? If you've got a drone that's going over top of school facilities, and it's like, so how do you even know who it belongs to, and how do you deal with that?
I mean, you won't always.
Okay.
I don't know that 100% of the time you can enforce that. Just practically speaking, you may not always know. I guess the purpose of the policy is just to make it known that that's not permitted, and hopefully limit, therefore, the amount that people would do it.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it may not be in this one, or it could be in this one and some others. When I was reading them, it talks about it applying to different groups, and it says employees, and it says, or the general public. Where would our volunteers fall into rules like that as general public?
Are you talking, I would have to have more information about in what sense.
I'm trying to remember which one I saw.
So it says a student, school system employee, contractor or vendor, school visitor or other member of the general public who's authorized
I think that's what,
to operate at
that
their
language.
own. I think, to me, a volunteer might be a visitor or a member of the general public. In this case, the rules for those categories are the same, that I can tell, so I'm not sure it would make a difference.
Okay. Any other questions? Who would have thought we'd have a drone policy?
Right.
All right, so board members, what would be your pleasure? Do you want to lead this as a first read, or would you like to waive second read and act on it now?
We'll leave it as first read.
Okay. Anybody else?
Second.
Okay. We don't need to take action, just want to make sure you know it's a first read. All right, so this will be brought back to you at the next board meeting for us to act upon. If you do have questions before then, by all means, please make sure that we know that. All right. Next is 8.06, North Carolina VW School Bus Program. Dr. McLean.
Thank you. I'm going to call Mr. Chris Ham, Dr. Chris Ham, to the podium. He's been busy in transportation working on this. Dr. Ham, will you take it away, please?
Yes, good evening, board members. It has been a whirlwind of a 6-week period as I've transitioned into this role. And to echo some of my sentiments from Ms. Hines and Ms. Crook from earlier, I was shocked to learn how much we are spending on diesel fuel and how often we are spending that money. The state allocates us at $2.30 per gallon for this school year. Last month, there was one load we paid $5.40 per gallon, so our costs have more than doubled. So, in part of that, and in this perfect timing as I came on board, there was some information that came out about the North Carolina VW School Bus Program, and I'm here to share that this evening. So as part of the settlement between the EPA and Volkswagen over diesel engine emissions, all 50 states received funds to replace diesel emission sources with cleaner technology. And eligible projects include replacement of school buses. There were other things as well as heavy equipment and those types of things. North Carolina received $27.2 million as part of their funding. And that's being administered by the Department of Environmental Quality. And DEQ is prioritizing electrification with the goal of awarding at least 50% of that money to electric school bus programs. And this program is being, it's intended to replace engine model years 2009 and older with a certain engine type. I won't bore you with that specific engine. And we have 3 buses that meet the criteria for that. This is all being headed up by DPI and their transportation department. So they asked us for information about our buses. We submitted that, and then they in turn were submitting all of this information to DEQ for approval of different projects. Proposals were actually due today, and the goal is to provide electric buses and the infrastructure that goes with that at little to no cost. And the current cost for an electric school bus is about $450,000 in comparison to a regular yellow school bus that you see down the road right now, which is about $100,000. So it's quite a bit more expensive to just straight outright buy one of these buses. So that information was going to DEQ today from DPI, and they will review all of those submissions. One thing that we think is going to help our application is this partnership we went into with Duke Energy. So they're also participating in the project, looking to partner with local school districts to provide the infrastructure and some of the money for the bus itself. They're offering up to $215,000 of funding for each electric school bus and the associated infrastructure. So the way that'll work, say if we are accepted and we get an electric bus and it costs $50,000 to put our charging station in, Duke will then in turn put the rest of that money towards the purchase of the bus, along with the money that comes from DEQ. So this is helping strengthen our bid because we have some outside sources and we're not solely relying on DEQ for those funds. So some of the agreements that we went into with that is, now keep in mind, they're only offering this to 15 school districts in their Duke Energy Progress area. So they own the charger and the infrastructure that goes with the program for about 4 years through 2026. The bus will participate in some different demonstrations and seeing how well it can return energy back to the grid. They retain the right to the battery of the bus once the bus is no longer in use. And we did apply for this partnership, and we were one of the 15 districts accepted into that partnership. So that information all went to DEQ today, and that is where we are at this point. You can see here some proposal applications are due today. They're being reviewed June and July, and then selections will go out in July and August. So we're really excited about the possibility of being one of the first ones to partner with DEQ and Duke Energy in this progress. So that's the basis of the presentation. I will take any questions that you might have.
Okay. Board members, questions?
Just a quick one. With the 3 buses that meet the criteria, with us being a part of the partnership, are we looking at replacing those 3 buses, or would we only like get one?
There's no way we'll get all 3 because they are going to try to disperse all the buses throughout the entire state. So we're hoping for one, and if we get super lucky because of different things, we might get 2.
Okay.
But I would deem it a success if we get one.
If we get one, okay.
I'd like to thank Dr. Ham for looking into this for us and for a little bit of ingenuity here trying to finagle all of this. Great job.
Thank you.
All right. Board members, this came to you as information, so we'll hear more about it later on. Board members, next we have 8.07, our academically and intellectually gifted program plan for 22 through 25. Dr. McLean?
Thank you so much, Chairman Richardson. I'm absolutely thrilled about this next presentation. We have Mrs. Becky Bishop with us. Dr. Winborn will be joining her for portions of this presentation. This is something that I personally am delighted about because it will reinvigorate an area that, in my opinion, has needed new life. Our AIG work is not just for youngsters. You heard someone say earlier youngsters who score at a particular area, but giftedness comes in many shapes, forms, and fashions. There is a committee in front of you on tonight's agenda, and this committee work has transpired over time under the leadership of Mrs. Becky Bishop. She's going to talk with you in just a moment about the professor she's had working with her from a national standpoint, and I even see a committee member with us this evening. So, Ms. Bishop, will you take this away, please, and let's inform the board of the direction we're moving in concerning AIG in Granville County Public Schools.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. McLean and Chairman Richardson and the board. I am so excited to be here tonight to present this overview. And I just really want to echo those sentiments about the advisory board. It is a dedicated group of folks who came together at least twice a month from February through May to get this work done. The pace is immense. We did 12 months worth of work in 3 months together as this team. And so I just want you to know that this plan is the outcome and the fruits of the labor and the hard work and collaboration of many stakeholders that served on the advisory board. And I'm just so excited, again, to share, and many of them are watching at home because they could not be here tonight. I want to especially thank Dr. Makel for his leadership, and we are excited to be partnering with him and the grant that we have, and he's going to be with us for the next 3 years through the implementation cycle of this plan. So we worked to create a plan that's going to transform the AIG program here in our district. And with that work, we were able to develop 5 overarching goals for this plan cycle, keeping in mind that, we were starting from ground zero almost, and so we are crawling before we walk and then walking before we run, and we are looking at for 6 years from now, as we're looking into that next plan cycle. So in this first 3 years, we wanted to build some really strong foundational pieces that we can continue to grow and move forward with. So the implementation of this plan will begin in the fall of 2022, and it will continue through the 2024-25 plan cycle if you approve it this evening. So some of our overarching goals within this plan, one, as the Honorable Burnett mentioned, was to shift mindsets around what giftedness is. And it's going to take some work, but with the advisory board and with Dr. Makel and of course me being in the forefront, making sure that this work is moving forward, we have created with the advisory board a new AIG program mission, vision, and purpose statement in order to drive this work. We also, a couple of our other goals that are going to drive this work are to increase our AIG identification within our underrepresented populations. And that's going to be done through piloting local norms in selected elementary schools. And that was something else that the Honorable Burnett shared with us tonight about how we're going to be looking at children in schools, in buildings individually. You know, we have national norms that are set. Those are kids that score in the 90 to 95th percentile on some nationally normed assessments. But when students are outperforming their peers, they need differentiated instruction, even if they're not meeting that 90th percentile. So we are going to be piloting local norms in some of our selected elementary schools to help increase population of AIG students, but also to meet the needs of our students. We are implementing a brand new service-aligned talent development program using research-based materials, and we are excited to be able to bring that service area of STEM and IG into our realm as well. We are aligning our services. This is a big piece for us. We already have an MTSS model here in the district, and one of the things that we wanted to do with AIG is we didn't want it to be one more thing for our teachers. We wanted it to be a part of everything that we do, AIG all day, every day. And so we are aligning our new service models with the MTSS model. And then, of course, our other goal is that we want to be able to implement, monitor, and evaluate the local plan and for effectiveness, fidelity, and to ensure accountability. And I know that that is something that it might not have been done in the last few years, and we are bringing that accountability piece to the table because we can only measure our success if we look at where we are and where we've come from and reflect on what we're doing. So I'd like to share with you tonight our new mission, our vision, and our purpose statement. So our mission here in the AIG program in Granville County Public Schools is to create a thriving program rooted in equity and excellence that supports the academic, intellectual, social, and emotional needs of our gifted students and our advanced learners. The vision for our program is that our schools are a place where giftedness and high potential are equitably recognized, developed, and supported to ensure that our gifted and advanced learners reach their full potential. And our purpose statement is going to be all day, AIG all day, every day. And I am so excited about that. So let me give you a few overarching, you have several documents that hopefully you've looked at tonight, and I did give you an emphasis piece, but I'm going to talk about just a few for each of our program standards. So these 6 standards are adopted by the State Board of Education, and it is something that, as a district, we are responsible for putting these practices and these standards and implementing them into our school district. So for Standard 1, student identification, to tell you a little bit about the things that are coming in this plan that we're going to be implementing in the fall, we are adding in the additional service area of IG. And we're actually going to have 3 pathways for certification this year, including the local norm piece, where we're going to be piloting local norms to increase our AIG population in those schools, and we're specifically looking to grow that underrepresented populations that we currently have. In Standard 2, when we look at comprehensive programming within a total school community, this is where our new mission, vision, and purpose statements fall. And this is the piece where we talk about that complete programming, where we want everything to align with that MTSS within our services. In Standard 3, differentiated curriculum and instruction, we're introducing that service-aligned talent development, but we're also bringing back some academic competitions within our schools. For Standard 4, personnel and professional development, Here we are adding an AIG PLC. So I will be meeting with my leadership team and my AIG specialists in the fall to support their work in the classroom with our students and make sure that they're getting what they need to be able to bring the work to the students and support the students. We're also adding a local AIG endorsement. What that means is we're going to be creating a course in Canvas, a module in Canvas for our teachers who want to work with AIG students but are not yet licensed. They can go through this endorsement, and that will give them the tools that they need to best support our students in our classrooms. And when we talk about partnerships in Standard 5, the AIG department is planning to host a brand new AIG open house. So we're excited to build that this summer and put that together as a part of our back to school activities as we do in the fall. And we are also very committed to continuing the work with the advisory board and growing our partnerships and our relationships within our communities, with our parents, and just all of our stakeholders that have a place at the table. And then for program accountability, the AIG department, we're going to be intentional when we communicate with our stakeholders. We're going to be providing some surveys to all of our stakeholders to get the data, to make sure that we're on track, to find out how we're doing. We are going to be super committed to that program accountability to make sure that services are happening for our students, and not just services, but effective students that are meeting their needs and helping our students to grow and develop in the ways that they need to. So that is a very quick overview of the larger document that you have housed. So I hope that you've had a chance to look over the entire plan this evening and review all of the documents that have been shared with you in its entirety. And I do come to you and ask that I recommend that the board approve the AIG program plan for 2022-2025 as presented this evening. Do you have any questions?
Do you have questions for Ms. Bishop?
I don't have a question, but I will say when I read through the document today, this morning, I had one word: excited. Very excited.
Me too. Thank you.
Right. Good job.
Of course, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a question. I think this plan is great. It's one of those things that's near and dear to me. I think it's long overdue. Was there any thought about some type of incentive to get teachers to get the add-on endorsement if it leads to like licensure? I think it's the 087 licensure that they can put on there.
Yes, so one of the things that we can work with is we can provide support for praxis, which is one route that they can get for licensure. Right. And I have been in collaboration with the HR department to see what we might be able to provide as far as Title II funds, to see how we could support those teachers who get local endorsements to move on into their certification.
Okay, that's what I was. That would be cool.
Looks like a lot of good work in a short amount of time, so thank you. You've hit the ground running.
Yes.
All right, board members, this comes to you as an action item this evening. What would be your pleasure?
I make a motion we accept it as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Williams and a second by Mr. Peace. Is there further discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, congratulations, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bishop.
All right, next item is 8.08, letters teacher stipend.
Yes, this is something I'm excited about bringing to the board tonight. Dr. Winborn and his team have worked diligently to try to find a way to assist our teachers with all of the work they are about to put in concerning letters training. This is something, we don't normally bring stipends to the board, but we did want to make everyone aware of this one. So Dr. Winborn, walk us through this, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. McLean. So we heard you loud and clear, board. We definitely know and understand what a huge lift this is going to be for our teachers at the elementary level this next year. Again, letters, this acronym is in reference to the science of reading training that all of our teachers, K through 5, and their principals are required to go through. In addition, we're also doing a separate cohort for our assistant principals and the curriculum and instruction team. And I believe even Dr. McLean is going to be going through this soon too, right?
I'm in training next week on the 15th and 16th.
That's right. So
Yes.
we're going to share the love.
Gonna share it.
But just a reminder that to complete the training each year, it's anywhere from 70 to 85 hours. And it's over a 2-year period. So the total complete training time, the investment that we're asking our teachers to make on this, is anywhere from 140 to 170 hours. Now, we're very fortunate, again, that we've done most of this professional development within the existing early release and work days. But there's still time that teachers will have to work in their PLCs, their grade level meetings, to implement and try, actually try it out, test drive what they learn. So that's included in there. And it's great, of course, that they're going to be earning CEUs, but we think there needs to be more. We really do. And there's, while this is a requirement for all of these teachers to complete this training, there's 2 designations that you can get when you go through it. If you just simply go through the training and you satisfy each of the modules as you go through it, then you will be deemed just having completed it. And as you take assessments along the way, you might not really do, if you say you don't do that well in some of them, you'll still get your certificate. But if you're one of those really attentive and bright students and you're really dedicated to the task, you can get what's called mastery designation. And that means scoring at or above 80% on all of the assessments as you proceed through 4 units per year, 1 volume per year, so it's 8 units or 2 volumes. So you'll get a designation on your certificate. You're either completing it or you're mastered. So our proposal is that for those teachers that master this training, they receive a $1,200 stipend to be paid at the end of the school year. And for completion, they would receive a minimum no less than $800. And this, again, is for each school year. So it would be paid at the end of each year for up to 2 years. The total estimated cost would range somewhere between $200,000 and just shy of $300,000. This is according to, based on the number of staff that we have that will be going through this training, and taking into account the combinations of levels they may get. And we have identified ESSER PRC to help pay for this. So happy to answer any questions.
What is the situation after 2 years and a teacher is hired that has not had this? Is the state going to have something they can do?
Yes, so we've asked that question, and we haven't gotten a clear answer yet, other than something will be there for them. We have to take into account the fact that some districts have already started this training. So we might, for example, hire a teacher this fall who's already been through year 1, and will need to do year 2, while the rest of our teachers are doing year 1. So there's going to be a little bit of a dance about figuring that out.
That's right. There will also be, each district is also going to receive a letters person from the state, and that person will have several tasks, although they answer to the state. One of them will be to continue training people in the local district. So they will have multiple roles, but it will be continuous training.
Am I correct that I understand that this is just for traditional public school elementary teachers, or is it going to be in the charter schools? Do we know?
I don't know the answer to that question, Ms. Williams. I'm sorry.
Other questions, board members? All right, this comes to you as an information item today, and so there's no action required on your part. All right, our next item is 8.09, our pandemic action response. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you so very much. I'm going to ask Mrs. Curtis to come back to the podium, please. to give us an update.
Good afternoon, or good evening again. It's good to see you. Just a couple of reminders to get us started. At this time, masks are optional for all students and staff unless an exception applies. There are still recommendations from DHHS that you wear a mask if you're at high risk for severe illness, you're unvaccinated, or not up to date in your vaccines, you want an added layer of protection, or you're in a high-risk setting. Physical distancing is required during the school day. If you will recall, at our previous meeting, the board elected to remove the requirement for physical distancing for events outside of the school day. Next slide. So we'll take a look at our readiness indicators. We're still up to date with all of our stock for PPE and disinfection and cleaning supplies. Next slide. We have taken some hits the last month when it comes to staffing challenges. And with the uptake in cases, and you'll see on the map in just a second that Granville County has returned to red, so to the high community spread, we have seen that impact on our staff. So we've had 41 positive cases among our staff in May and 68 staff that had to quarantine or isolate. And our number of substitutes is ticking up, but we're still recruiting. So please apply if you're interested in subbing. Next slide. So as you can see, Granville County is in high community spread. This is up from last week. If we were still operating under our guidelines that the board was operating under earlier this school year, this would have triggered an automatic return to masking for all. But at this time, masking is still optional for students and staff in Granville County. I will note that one of our educational partners, Vance Granville, did return to mandatory masking today because of the high community spread. Next slide. You can take a look here. Our numbers are still creeping up. We did not have as many cases for students last week. Those did go down. However, I think some of our students' attendance was lowered last week because of some of the other things that were going on in our community, so we did not get notified of as many cases as we might have. Our staff cases were up last week. We did have, as you can see, 35 students in quarantine last week. So our student impact over time, again, we had that big peak in January, and then we've started to creep back up over the last couple of weeks. We were in the single digits in April, but in May we've been in the 20s, 30s, and even high 40s over the last few weeks in terms of cases per week per students. Next slide. And then our staff impact over time. Again, we were in the single digits for staff cases, but have gone up into the double digits over the last few weeks, into the upper teens and 20s with staff cases as well. Next slide. Dr. McLean asked me to update you on masking due to in-school exposure. As you recall, students are no longer required to be quarantined at home when they are exposed at school. However, if they are possibly exposed at school, then they are required to wear a mask for 10 days. And that did have a big impact on our students over the last few weeks. Again, you can see going back to February when we went mask optional, the line was all the way at the bottom. We had very few, or we had just a handful. But as cases have crept up in our community, that means our students are testing positive as well. And so many of our students were exposed and received a letter indicating that they needed to mask due to that exposure. And at one point, we were up to about 340 students one week that were required to mask. Next slide. So just some notes on the end of year. We have our end of year events. We've had many of them over the last few weeks, and we've got our culminating events this coming weekend. Just a reminder that we will have hand sanitizer and masks on hand for graduation ceremonies for those folks that would like to take advantage of that. Physical distancing or masks are optional, but we certainly encourage folks, since we're in high community spread, to keep those extra mitigation measures in mind. I think I've got one more, Dr. Winmore. Just also a note on summer programs. We'll continue to partner with Mako Medical this summer to provide screening testing for those students and staff that wish to participate. If students and staff are already registered and are coming to one of our summer programs, they don't need to sign back up, but I'll work with Dr. Winborn to get out a message to any families that do want to take advantage or staff members that want to take advantage that aren't signed up currently. And our school nurses will also be continuing to work this summer to support our students and staff when it comes to our COVID response, working to help those that are symptomatic, test positive, or are exposed. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Curtis? All right. Thank you so much for your work on this.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
this evening is Lauren's last pandemic action report that she will be given, and I just want to thank her for all of her hard work on this. It's been a huge lift, and she's done a wonderful job and done so much to keep our students and our staff safe. So, Lauren, thank you so much for all that you've done. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lauren Curtis.
Thank you so much. All right, board members, our next item is 8.10, board member term length update. Attorney Dubison.
Board members, I was asked to provide you an update on your efforts to transition from 6 to 4-year terms. And as I mentioned to you in an email, a local bill has been filed in the General Assembly and has been assigned to the local government committee. And so hopefully it will be heard by that committee and moved on to the full House. The committee meets tomorrow, and it is not on the agenda for tomorrow as of this weekend. But in any case, that's the process for that to move forward. And if that does make it through the General Assembly, it would start to take effect with those who are elected in the next election. So it does not impact anyone who has already been elected.
If it does not pass by the end of the short session, will it have to be refiled?
I don't know if they have to refile it. I do know that, right, we'd have to wait until the long session. So we would start to be cutting it close, but the General Assembly, I think in an effort to truly have a short session, put some restrictions on how many local bills can make it, can be filed this time. So my hope, this one did get filed by the deadline. I think they have what they need. Obviously, it passed first read. So I'm hopeful that there shouldn't be any hiccups.
Doesn't count that we were first.
It doesn't hurt.
Board members, other questions for the attorney related to this?
Yeah, if by some chance it doesn't pass here in this short session, would there be an opportunity to go back and make some amendments to it if we have to refile it in the long session? Like, I know we talked about maybe cutting out this whole get elected in March or whatever, and then you have to wait till December. We said that maybe.
I'd have to look at our, the answer is maybe. Okay. We also have a court order to contend with regard to elections in Granville County. I don't think off the top of my head that it specifies those dates, but I would have to check.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that.
Other questions? All right, this comes to you as information, and we'll continue to bring further updates to you as it becomes relevant. Board members, we now enter in our time of finance. Our first is 9.01, our budget amendments. And so, Dr. McLean, I believe that's Ms. Hines.
Absolutely. Ms. Vicki Hines, will you join us at the podium, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, board members. First on our finance agenda tonight are our budget amendments in our state funds. The amendment is to update state allotments for transportation and to reallocate funds within the Restart program. The total increase in state funds is $63,972 with a total ending budget of $55,855,423. In our local funds, the amendment is to move funds to support programmatic needs. This is neither an increase nor a decrease to the local budget, but coding within the budget. In our capital outlay funds, the amendment is to allocate prior year insurance proceeds in fund that are being held in fund balance for the replacement of the South Granville High School auxiliary gym floor. The total increase in capital outlay funds is $102,190, with a total ending budget of $6,529,712. In our child nutrition funds, the amendment is to allocate additional revenue received, and that's the USDA revenue. The total increase in child nutrition funds is $250,519, with a total ending budget of $3,872,359. And the last amendment this month is within the other restricted fund. This is allocating additional recycling revenue received of $715, and the latest emergency connectivity funds, or ECF award, of $69,046. The total increase in other restricted funds is $70,170, with a total ending budget of $7,797,472. These are the budget amendments for this month. Are there any questions?
Seeing none, board, this comes to you as an action item. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Peace. Do we have a second?
Second.
By Dr. McKnight? Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Those amendments pass. Ms. Hines, I believe next is 9.02, financial update.
Absolutely. You have the financial update in front of you as of April 30th, 2022. At that point, we were 83% through the fiscal year. At this point, you can see our local budget is at 75%, state at 91%, and so on, as you see that. Our expenses are in line, our percentages are in line, and we are within budget at this time. Are there any questions related to this? Okay. Next, you have a report on COVID funds as of April 30th, 2022. The first page is by program that the funds have been designated for by the state. Our total expenditures were $9,424,766 by April 30th. Our total allotment is $26,553,596, with a balance of $17,228,831. The next page shows these amounts graphically by program. The remaining pages reflect those same expenditures, but only by type of expenditure or object code. You can see on the charts on that last page at the end that the majority of the expenditures, 71.8%, are salary and benefits. The next largest expenditure is listed as supplies and materials and includes computer purchases. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. Next, we have a report on board member travel through April 30th. Budget for the current year is $6,317. Expenses to date are $1,755.38, which leaves a remaining balance of $4,561.62. You can see on the report the expense breakdown by board member as well as the type of expense on the right. Note that this report is unchanged from last month as there were no travel expenses paid in April. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Board members, if you know, remember we removed 9.03, our insurance providers presentation. That will come later. Their next item is 9.04, the innovative project or TIP participation. Dr. McClain.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Vicki Hines, will you share with us, please?
Absolutely. This is a renewal of our district participation with the Innovative Project or the TIP program. The dues formula remains unchanged from previous years. and is based on a $20,000 flat fee plus 30 cents per ADM, up to a ceiling of 30,000 over the state. The invoice received has Granville County Schools' total dues set at $22,002 for the 22-23 school year.
I don't normally bring invoices to you all, but since there had been such discussion about the innovative project, I thought we would bring it this time in case there were questions.
All right. Board members, do you have questions or comments related to our participation in this?
Did I understand that the North Carolina legislature gave a grant to the innovation project?
Yes, ma'am.
Our
Several
legislature did,
grants.
okay, as well as the other.
Absolutely.
Okay. I thought that's what I had heard.
Is this something that would get voted on an annual basis, or is this?
So yes, it typically would not
theoretically.
come to the board.
Right.
Because it's under the threshold.
So I'm just curious, what happens if like it were to not pass today, but then next year you decided to opt back in? Like, how does that work exactly?
She would,
If we don't pass today,
if you don't pass today, what would happen next year?
we won't participate in anything.
But after a year goes by, I mean,
They may invite us to participate, they may not.
okay, so it's by invitation.
It's by invitation,
Gotcha.
absolutely.
Want to remind that I mean, this is a large piece of PD that many in our district are able to take advantage of, not only our board members and superintendent, but we had 2 students come a month ago that talked about the, I'm going to mess up the name, the
High-tech accelerator.
the high-tech accelerator. The 2 students that presented about that, they are expanding that program, so that will be available to more students in our area. So it's more PD opportunities for us through that.
And this is more of that cutting edge. If you want the district to move forward with regard to what is around the corner and learning from districts doing things, and we're one of those districts where others look to as well, this is that group. If we don't want to be a part of it, then this is what you don't sign up for. So this is one of those things. I don't want to proceed without support because we had so much dialogue about it in the community.
I'm sorry, what's PD?
Professional development.
Thank you.
Well, some of the things that were said with the North Carolina legislature, I think $8 million, I don't think it's a big secret that it exists, but
Definitely not.
it may not be as publicized, let's put it that way. But we keep talking about reimagining education
Absolutely.
and the future.
This is it.
So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you.
I think it's well worth the money that's spent for the value we get for what this is all about and how it benefits teachers and students too. Therefore, if you need a motion to approve it, I'll certainly make one.
All right. We have a motion on the floor to approve our participation in the innovation project. Motion made by Mr. Peace. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Williams. Is there any further discussion?
The conference you guys went to in May, that was through, did you guys find anything troubling or concerning?
I personally did not.
Nothing.
I kind of went with the view of looking because I was held on the block to explain for it. So I went looking and didn't find anything.
No Marxism, no socialism, communism? Okay. You got my support.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say, I echo Mr. Richardson. Like, I went, with a very open mind, but also a very discerning eye at the same time, and I found it to be very, there were no red flags, let me just say that. You know what I mean? Like, as far as I could see. That being said, I mean, I think obviously in the future, just to continue going to these conferences and always having that kind of, sort of awareness is helpful. Just, instead of just blindly following in the future, going down the track. but I thought it was wonderful. I really thought it was a great event. For me, unfortunately, I feel like this falls under the want versus need category personally, from a financial aspect, which is where I'm kind of grappling with, I think. But I mean, as far as the event and everything that they're proposing, I feel like it was really well worth it and wonderful.
Could you expand maybe a little bit on the professional development activities that have been made
Yeah,
available?
I remember when this first came to the district, there was a group of about 7 of us that went for an all-day training, and they were cross disciplines. It was, I remember Michelle Robinson was there. We had a teacher from Stovall Shaw. Angela Cogdale was there. There were several of us that came from different areas, and it was geared towards thinking outside of the box and how would we engage our students to do that in such a way that we took like a basic concept and how would we teach that outside of the box so that it engaged them. So that was one thing I remember taking away from that. And I think over the years, what I have watched in my 5 years is as we have chipped away at the budget, professional development always kind of gets a little knockoff of that. And that's where we're missing some things to be cutting edge.
And I think one thing, just to add to that, sometimes it's nice just having a resource upon whom you can call. And that's what this group has become, at least from where I sit, to be able to pick up the phone and to call a group of either superintendents who are going through what we're going through, or to call TIP and say, where can you point me? Who else in the state is doing this? Or what ideas have you all found research-wise we might be able to try and send those resources? Another something that happened, before we did Restart Schools, we reached out to TIP and had a big meeting, and they put together superintendents who came and shared with us their experiences about districts that had Restart Schools and helped our board grapple with, hey, this is what it's about. We did not have to spend our time and our resources going out finding those resources. They did that for us and brought it to us.
Well, there were several things that they told us not to do.
They surely did.
It saved us all kinds of headache that we were heading right down that direction.
So I think it's, what I would say is, it is a pool of resources that's there when you need it, just as much as it is professional development and things of that nature. Especially when you don't have access to those things. We don't have people sitting in those seats, not in Granville County. So we have to have a place to go who have access and can assist us with the work we do. So that is what this is for $20,000.
Other questions, comments before we vote?
Well, definitely, I just want to say I really think it's a great program. Just listening to what you all described and just, you all attending it, because, it's in the name, innovation. And if anyone needs that during this time and period, we definitely need to follow that lead. So I think it's great.
I'm going to add just one more thing, just sitting where I am. I can't hire anyone for $20,000 to do what that group does as a whole. I can't hire an individual person to do that work. So when I do the cost analysis, it becomes pretty easy for me, because the pool, I can't get a person for that.
I was just thinking that's pretty cheap, because I think it was in 2011 when the General Assembly cut the line item for professional development.
Absolutely.
So districts, you pretty much have to come up with these consortiums and rely on each other in order to sharpen your saw, because there's no more support that the state gives in the area of professional.
Because you've got different people with different expertise in the pool.
Yep.
So you really couldn't hire one person even if you could afford it, because they wouldn't be qualified in every area.
And I certainly couldn't do it for $22,000.
Okay.
ready to vote, Mr. Chair.
You ready to vote? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, one dissent, okay. Passes 5-1. All right. Thank you, Dr. McLean. Our next item is 9.05, the GCPS Recruitment and Retention Bonus Plan for 22-23. At this time, I'd like to hand over the chairmanship to Ms. Lebrecht, and myself and Dr. McKnight will recuse ourselves because our spouses are employed by the district.
Very
So, Ms.
good.
Lebrecht.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lebrecht. This is exciting. I must say, as superintendent, we have brought to you all this year several bonus plans, and they've been in varying amounts in an effort to recruit and retain our quality employees. The plan coming before you tonight is something educators once had but lost. And we have worked, this team in front of you have worked diligently, along with Ms. Hunt, might I add. She's still here, I think she stepped out. Diligently to attempt to restore something that people once had. So I'm delighted to be able to have this shared with you this evening. I turn it over to Ms. Courtney Curran, Ms. Vicki Hines, and Mr. Jamar Perry.
So we come to you tonight with a new recruitment and retention bonus plan, but we want to start by kind of showing you where we've been this year. So in 2021-2022, we have had multiple recruitment and retention efforts, and that's something we definitely thank you all for in helping us with that process. But we all know the realities are that shortages exist in all areas of staffing right now, and it's not isolated to Granville County Public Schools. It is statewide. We have been able to market an incentive package to attract and retain GCPS employees, and we want to continue that and to even improve that marketing ability for our district. That will allow our district to compete with neighboring counties and, dare I say, do better than neighboring counties, because we want to make sure that we get the best of the best here in Granville County. So what we've done so far, next slide, we've had some support from our state, and we've used some ESSER funds as well. So our teachers so far have received the $1,000 ESSER bonus, a $300 teacher bonus, and the supplemental funds in the amount of $1,205. Now, of course, the AP, IB, CTE incentive did not impact all of our teachers, but it did impact some of our teachers, so they were able to benefit from that as well. Our principals also got a $1,800 bonus. Our child nutrition staff were able to get a bonus as well. You can see those numbers there. And then all staff got the $1,000 plus the $500 for annual salaries under $75,000. So our state has definitely helped us in that. Next slide, please. We've also had some wonderful Granville County recruitment and retention bonuses. And so our hiring incentive, and because of the work that you guys allowed us to do, we have got $3,000 for our EC, ESL, and AIG new hires. High school, middle school, math and science get $2,500, and other classroom teachers get $2,000. And may I say, as somebody who onboards people, that is really exciting for our new staff when they come on. They truly enjoy and appreciate that. And then Phoenix Academy also gets an additional $3,500. So that's a huge recruiting tool for us. Then our classified staff members have had increased wages. You can see those there. And to retain our staff members, the permanent full-time employees had an additional $1,000, part-time employees $600, and bus drivers $250 per route. And then again, in March, got an additional $1,500, $750 for part-time, and that's going to be happening again in October. So great things have happened for our staff members already.
Thank you, Ms. Curran. So our next piece, as we dive right into this proposal, is our first new portion of this plan would be, advance the slide for me, an advanced degree pay. So back in 2013, North Carolina was the first state to eliminate or remove salary increases for educators with an advanced degree. This is not a first that we should be really proud of. But multiple bills have been filed to restore master's pay, but without success. Actually, there's something kind of brewing right now to kind of restore that master's pay. And as we recruit out-of-state employees, for those who complete teacher prep programs, particularly in the Northeast, we find out that a number of those teachers actually complete their teacher prep programs with an advanced degree. So they complete a master's, stay an additional year, complete a bachelor's and obtain a master's within an additional year. So they come in with the master's degree, but they're not allowed to be paid on those master's degrees, that advanced degree. So our next slide. This is just a snapshot of the requirements on who can actually be paid for an advanced degree. So you must be grandfathered in by August of 2013. That's a long time ago if you're just starting out. So many of our new teachers were in middle school, maybe when this was passed. So this is quite some time ago, so they don't benefit from this advanced degree. Also, you must, unless you're in a specific position such as a certified school nurse, an instructional support position like a principal or speech language pathologist, guidance school counselor, those are automatically paid on the master's degree because that's a requirement for the position. So that's the information there just for your information there. So our next slide, with this proposal, we would like to implement an advanced degree supplement for our teachers and new recruits. So for those individuals who do not have an advanced degree, they will go through a process where we would certify their transcript through their certified transcript and provide them with a supplement for that advanced degree. No, I'm not aware of this happening anywhere else in the state of North Carolina for a district to provide a supplement when the master's degree is no longer being paid for at the state level for new hires. So this would be an innovative approach to this. So it must be a certified teacher, a person in a certified teaching position, and must provide an official transcript from a college or university. So we would certify that process just as we do with the normal person who comes in who does obtain or had the degree prior to 2013. The payments will be made monthly, and so it's not eligible for retirement. And this will be time limited. So of course it will be under those ESSER funds for the next 2 years. Now, since I did mention that there are some rumblings that there may be some possible changes, so if that would impact this, then of course this would go away. So if the state does decide to restore the master's pay, we would not pay this in addition. So the state would provide it or we will provide it. So we'll talk a little bit about the financial impact. Ms. Hines?
Based on our current staff, Mr. Perry sent out a survey to our current staff with master's degrees, and based on the interest level available, that's that first line, that's a total of $272,830. An estimate for new hires would cost out at $51,700 for a total of $324,530 plus, of course, FICA and retirement. So the estimated cost for 2 years would be $855,720.
Thank you. So our next piece is something that would affect everyone, every employee, every permanent employee of Granville County Public Schools, regardless of your classification as a classified employee, an administrator, or a certified employee. So our next slide. So we want to consider a longevity supplement or longevity retention bonus for all of our employees. This would be data managers, secretaries, principals, central office staff, everyone who works for all of our permanent employees with Granville County Public Schools. It would be paid annually in February and would be based on availability of funding for the next 2 years, 2023 and 2024. And we'll dive just into the details just a little bit more. So you see on your screen, this is what the bands will look like. So those who start off with 0 years of experience, or 0 years of service with the district would be $500. And then we go into 5-year bands going up to year 26, so that the most that a person could earn over year 1 would be $4,500. So that would be based on a date, the first work day in January. So we would calculate that to determine the band that that person would earn. So the longevity, as I mentioned, the calculation will be based on the first day in January. Years will not be rounded. So you have 3.9, we round down to 3. And it will be based on completed years of service with the district. Breaks in service will not be paid in the first payment because breaks in service require that we go back and evaluate and determine whether or not when a person actually was employed. So we would have a form where individuals can say, hey, I've worked here back in 1975 to 81. I stopped, but I came back in 2015. So can you go back and evaluate this? So we would go back and do that as a request to our employees, but they would have to initiate that request. So that will be the review and service option there. And then we would go back, confirm, and then retroactively pay the difference. So the longevity bonus will be paid in February 2023 and 2024. Of course, this will be only our permanent employees. So unfortunately, we cannot offer this as substitutes because they're considered to be temporary employees. And we will prorate this based on hours worked. Okay. Just want to be redundant. So employees that are not 100% employed will be prorated, of course. They must be employed at the time of the bonus, so you can't decide to resign in November and expect to get a payment in February. So you must be in service at the time of payment. And so no proration will be paid if the employee separates prior to that payment. That does happen with those who earn longevity, state longevity. If you do separate prior to, you get a portion of that, but not in this instance. So the bonus, as I mentioned earlier, is applied to all employees, all permanent employees with Granville County Public Schools.
Again, that's what makes this a little bit different. We obviously will still be continuing the state longevity that our classified employees can take advantage of. However, that's state longevity. What's interesting about this is that we're really focused on Granville County Schools longevity. Those who are loyal to our district, we want to reward those staff members who are loyal to this county. What you see here is just a breakdown of our current employees and how they would fall in those different areas, just so you can see how many of our classified, how many principals, et cetera, fall in. This looks at a total of 891 permanent employees, and the total cost, including FICA, would be $2,278,412. And that's, of course, annually, looking at this over 2 years.
Sorry.
And just wanted to really give you an overview of what, thinking forward to next year, what our recruitment and retention incentives would look like throughout the calendar year. We know that we do our signing bonuses, and those are paid out in August, October, May, and September of the next year. We know that October, which would be the second installment of our current local retention bonus, and we're proposing February for the longevity bonus. December and June, of course, are local supplement. That's when those are typically paid. And then monthly with the advanced degree or master's bonus, we would look at doing that as a monthly addition for staff. So that's just to give you a picture of what it looks like in general over the year.
Thank you. So this is exciting to know that if this is approved, that we'll be able to advertise this, that we do offer an additional supplement for master's pay, particularly master's pay, because it's disheartening when you have that conversation with the recruit and you say, oh, can you pay me my master's? Unfortunately, we cannot, because many of them do not fall under the clauses that have been set by the state. So it's our recommendation that you all approve this to continue to support our recruitment efforts and retention efforts, utilizing these ESSER funds for the next 2 years.
Any questions? I just want to clarify, this is using ESSER funding that is going to be expiring, not something that we would be using for anything else.
That is correct.
Okay.
This will go through 2024.
Yes. Okay. All right. This requires action. So does anybody want to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion for the approval of this for consideration, utilizing the ESSER funds, yes. Motion to approve it.
And a second? Yeah.
I thought you were just talking.
No, no. Mr. Richardson has recused himself from this, so I'm in charge, y'all.
All right, speak up, please. I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you all.
very much. Our educators will be thrilled. This will be exciting. Thank you.
Is this a sort of surprise, or have they been talking about it?
I think it will be a pleasant surprise. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Madam Vice Chairman, thank you so much. Board members, the next item is 9.06, our budget resolution for year-end budget amendments. Ms. Hines?
Absolutely. Board members, just in case you were not aware, it is now June. And after students and teachers are gone for the summer, our finance team will be hard at work closing out the fiscal year by June 30th. In order to facilitate this process as it relates to last-minute budget amendments, I ask that you consider the resolution provided above. By approving this resolution, you provide the superintendent with the authority to approve budget amendments which may be necessary at the end of the fiscal year. That prevents us from having to call last-minute board meetings.
Board members, this comes to you as a regular action item every year at this time, and basically we sign this resolution so the superintendent can sign these on our behalf, and then they're reported to us at the next board meeting. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. McKnight and a second by Mr. Peace.
Said you won't have to call me.
I knew that
Now, keep in mind, there's still 2 meetings scheduled. Calm down. All right. Is there any further discussion or questions?
No meetings in July.
We're trying real hard. All right. If you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right. Thank you, Ms. Hines.
Thank you very much.
All right, board members, it is 8:31. And so I'd like to have a motion to adjourn to closed session in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 6, A3, and A5, and Section 115C, 321 for personnel and attorney-client privilege. Do you have someone willing to make that motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. LeBrecq. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Board members, we're in open session now. At this point, we would like to have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Peace and a second by Dr. McKnight. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Board members, you do have dates to remember on your agenda there, especially graduation coming up this weekend. Do you have further instructions about graduation?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. We're looking at the weather report, and it's not looking as friendly as I'd like for it to. So we have plans to have graduations inside if need be, but the dates will not change. They will just simply move the ceremonies on the inside if need be. The other thing I'd like to share, if I may, just very briefly, at everyone's seat this evening, you have a flyer. The Webb Space Telescope is coming, the viewing for seeing what is happening up in space. The NASA expert panel for the live pictures release will happen on July 12th at 5:30 p.m., and this will take place at J.F. Webb High School. We're excited about this, and board members, you have a couple of copies of this. We're just asking you to post these somewhere in your community or in your church, in a library or somewhere, so that people can get ready. They're welcome to come to J.F. Webb to take a look at the showing and the viewing that particular evening. It's going to be so exciting. We're in partnership with Shaw University and this venture with NASA, and we want the children in this community to get excited. So wherever you are on July 12th, keep this in mind that at 5:30 that evening, we'll be showing what's happening up in space.
Can be part of history.
Absolutely.
Dr. McLean, that time may be adjusted. It could
The
be.
time may adjust?
It
Okay.
might, it might be. We're
So we'll send
dependent on
something
NASA,
out.
actually, so.
Thank you. That's right. Let's let space do its thing, right? Thank you for that, Dr. Winward.
Anything else from you, Madam Superintendent?
No, sir, not at all.
All right.
Thank you.
Board members, anything from you? All right, at this point, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn. Have a motion by Ms. LeBrecq.
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Williams. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. All right, 9:09, we're adjourned.